Welcome to Confidence Rockstar Podcast, a place where you will find inspiration, motivation, and, let's say, kick in the bottom to take action and create the life of your dreams. I'm your host, Alex Grzybek, and I'll help you quiet that little voice inside your head saying, "You can't do this." So you have the courage to go for what you've always wanted on your terms. Every week, I'll bring you some confidence golden nuggets, present an awesome interview in order to empower you to step up your game. It's time to choose happy and shine. It's time to become a confidence rockstar. Let's dive deep. Hi everyone, it's Alex here and welcome to the next episode of Confidence Rockstar Podcast. Today I have a real treat for you because I have an amazing guest. My guest today is incredible Ruth Kudzi. And we have absolutely amazing episode for you. I'm so excited about it. I will tell you why in just a second. But just want to tell you that we will be talking with Ruth today about confidence to be yourself and own all part of your story. But before we dive in, I would like to quickly introduce Ruth to you. So Ruth is a multiple business owner and coach. She runs not only one, but two successful businesses, coach training, which trains people to become professionally accredited coaches, and a coaching business where she works with ambitious coaches to build and scale their businesses. And she has over 25 years of experience studying psychology, neuroscience, and she uses this knowledge in her coaching and training programs. She believes that we all have the ability to change how we think ourselves and therefore how we behave. So welcome, Ruth. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
It's so great to be here and to catch up with you, Alex. Thank you for having me.
You know what, I was saying that I'm so excited for this episode because, I personally adore you. Yes, I had a privilege to be working with you, the whole last year.
I know. I've missed you, Alex.
Yeah, we've met actually a few years ago in different coaching program, and we kind of were in touch, but I started working with you last year, and it was a game changer for me. So I absolutely love you. We finished mastermind in December, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, just a moment ago. So yes, so I'm honored that you are here, that you found the time, and you can share your wisdom with our listeners and viewers today.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I think we must have met about maybe 3 years ago. Was it 3 years ago in February?
Yeah.
I think that's when we met in person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't met in person really since, but we will do again one day.
We will. Yeah, we were supposed to have two person sessions last year during the master.
We were, and it kept being okay, well, that's not going to happen. Okay, that's not going to happen. Right, okay, we'll just get used to Zoom.
Exactly, we just get used to Zoom, we were talking for a week, every week or sometimes twice a week, so we felt that we were together, anyway, yes?
Exactly.
Okay, Ruth, so we will be talking about owning the whole part of your story. So can we just talk a little bit about, because as far as I remember, your journey, actually, your business started with the confidence bit in it, yes? Just tell us
it did.
How did you start your online presence?
So I started my online business nearly 5 years ago, actually, I got my first paying client in April 2016. I've been doing stuff before that, but I kind of count my business start date as the day that I got my first client. And when I started so I've been coaching for quite a long time before. And I came into this brand new online world, and it was really overwhelming because I wasn't really on social media, so I didn't know that this world existed. And I remember I started off doing career and confidence coaching because what I'd felt, and actually one of the reasons that I set up my business is after I had my first daughter, so before I had my first daughter, so kind of from 2012, 2013 onwards, I knew that I was committed to coaching as a career. So I was like doing loads of study, going to lots of events. I think you were similar, weren't you? Doing all of that. I knew that it was my career, but I didn't really know how I was going to make it work. But when I had my first daughter, I felt this massive, like, loss of identity. So I'd been a deputy head teacher and a senior leader in secondary schools. And so that had been my identity. You know, that was my identity. And I didn't realize how much of myself was kind of in that identity. And when I had my daughter, and then it just seemed to be, you know, going, and obviously I know that I was very privileged because it's very different right now, but I was going to kind of baby classes and everything just seemed to be about her now, which was great. But I felt that I lost myself. I felt, you know, people didn't even ask me what my name was. So they'd be like, oh, are you her mum? You're like, yeah, do you want to know my name? And I think because everyone's so tired as well, it just makes it worse, doesn't it? And so confidence coaching and actually working my confidence has really helped me, especially when I went back to work. And I found that really, really difficult and really challenging. And I think so then I was like, okay, what can I help people with? And we know that people say help people, like, think about where you are and your ideal client is a version of you. We know all the cliches, don't we? So then I was like, okay, well, these things have really helped me. So I'm going to start by coaching people in confidence. But the ironic thing was, and I don't actually think it's ironic, I think this is of all of us, I wouldn't say I was 100% confident then. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm 100% confident now. I don't think you ever are. But I knew that I could have helped someone from, like, kind of where I was to, yeah, I could have helped them, you know, go up those stairs or get in that elevator and move upwards and feel more confident.
This is very important what you are saying, that we are never like 100% confident, and I do believe that it's very, very, very true. And when we think we are, something happens that tests us. Check this one out. Yes.
Yeah, like the universe will be like, are you sure? And you know, when I started, I remember like doing like confidence challenges in my Facebook group, like always doing like little bits around confidence, and it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I would say that all of it was developing. Like, I was always developing. I was always kind of like getting better and thinking about building my confidence alongside it, because there's so many new things to learn in the online world. You know, there's doing videos, doing Zoom. Like, I'd never done a Zoom before. When I started my coaching business, we used to use Skype. Do you remember Skype? Does it even exist anymore?
Yeah. Well, it does.
I know, exactly. It's like, it makes it sound really old, doesn't it? Yeah, we were using Skype. But you know, doing videos, like doing podcasts, because it's so, the thing about confidence is that we feel that, like, we use confidence for like a generalization, like, I want to feel more confident, but generally it's like, I want to feel more confident in a particular situation. So I want to feel more confident speaking or presenting, or about my business, or in the way I look and my branding. I mean, I'm here in my tracksuit. It's a Friday. It's always like a bit of a dress down day for me. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to be on camera with Alex. And I was like, well, it's cool because, you know, it's like, I'm still wearing clothes. I mean, I'm wearing a nice tracksuit. I'm not, you know, I've got a nice like thing on. But there was definitely a time when I was like, well, you can't show up like that. You can't show up unless you're completely perfect. And it's never about other people, because actually most people don't judge. You know, Mark Zuckerberg always wears, like, he's got a uniform, hasn't he, with a t-shirt and jeans he wears every day. We judge ourselves. And I think as women, we're the worst, aren't we? So we see like really, you know, people with like amazing photos and we're like, oh my gosh, we need that for our business. And often we don't. And actually, often that can put off our ideal clients, because they're, oh my gosh, I get that. That looks completely unobtainable to me.
Mm-hmm. It's very important what you just said, that, you know, we women especially, we judge ourselves, like, you know, so much. So if you can tell me, like, you know, what did you, because you said that you were not kind of 100% confident at that time. So if you could say how, I mean, what did you need to overcome in order to, move forward, like, with your business?
Oh my gosh, so much, so much. So I think I have a belief, and it is a belief, that most of us have this not been good enough. Like that is kind of at the root of our beliefs. And it's really interesting because I've talked to like lots of friends who are psychologists and things about it, and we're like, where does it come from? But in a way, if you feel that, then you're always going to be around other people, and that's kind of like how humans evolved, isn't it? So there probably is a function. But not being good enough shows up in so many different ways. It shows up in working really, really hard and not giving yourself a break. It shows up in not posting on social media because you feel that someone's going to judge you. It shows up in not being honest with yourself about your dreams, and also about what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. And so I think for me, when I started, I did this thing, and this was before I kind of got to the core that actually the reason that most of us don't do stuff is because we don't feel good enough. I did this thing that I was like, okay, each day I'm going to ask myself where I am on a scale of 1 to 10 for my self-belief. My belief that I can do this and I can set this business up. And I really grew my business on maternity leave. So I was pregnant with my second daughter when I started, grew it on maternity leave. And my whole thing was I didn't want to go back. So I needed to earn a certain amount. And so every day I'd be like, okay, where am I on a scale of 1 to 10? And they'd be like, okay, so what is one thing I can do to believe in myself more? Okay, well, maybe I can journal, or maybe I can read a book, or maybe I can do a little bit of exercise, or maybe I can go for a walk, or whatever it may be. And that really helped me. And actually, that's something that I do now, even during the day when I'm feeling like I'm really in my head, I try and get into my heart. I try and reconnect with myself. So getting away from any device is really, really good. Actually taking that space, and that helped me to start to build my confidence. But I would say that the other thing, the not being good enough, I had a lot of work to do, like a lot of journaling around beliefs, a lot of triggers and identifying the triggers. Like it's funny when we talk about mindset work, because sometimes it's like you're not doing work, but you are doing work. Like you're like feeling those emotions, aren't you? And processing them, and then starting to understand why you're feeling those emotions and processing them, and then starting to look at yourself and starting to realize who you are. And like it's work, but it's not work. And that's why coaches in this area are so skilled, because it's like, yeah, you keep thinking, oh, okay. And then you get to the next level and you're like, oh my gosh, am I ready for this? Am I the type of person that gets this? Am I the type of person? I would say that it is like a cliche, isn't it? But it is a journey. Definitely.
Absolutely. It is a journey, and it's so beautifully what you said, and that you said about the mindset work and the coaching. And actually talking about the journey, so where are you now? Because I know that you have been on a long journey. So starting with career and confidence, and then you are now a successful businesswoman of running 2 multiple figures businesses. So tell us, where are you now?
So now I've got 2 businesses, and our sales for the last year into 7 figures, which is massive. It's huge. And I'll be really honest, you get there and then you're like, okay. And then you're like, oh, wait a second. There's still, I haven't dealt with that. I haven't dealt with that. And there's always more things. Like for me, it's like giving away control. But actually, when you don't give away control, when you're like, oh, I need to do everything, you can't ever grow. So you have to give away more control, but it's like that balancing act. And it's very, very like to take a step back and observe yourself and really understand yourself and see things for what they are. I mean, I'm always like, what I always try and do is see something in somebody else's position, so I kind of understand it. But sometimes I'm just like, I just have to take a step back and be like, Did I make the right decision with everything that I had? Yes. Right. I just need to move on. I need to start to trust myself. And I would say a big, big thing about all of this, feeling good enough, and then it's trusting yourself. So when you get that feeling in your gut, you act on it, or you interrogate it and be like, okay, where does that come from? Because that feeling could be fear, because fear could be your pattern. And you could be like, you could keep stopping yourself doing things. But the more that we're able to trust ourselves and our own decisions and understand how we make great decisions, the more we're able to move forward.
Absolutely, this is true. So like, you know, you said like you've got like, you know, 2 businesses right now, and you help like people like being like accredited coaches, and you also help coaches scale like run and like scale their businesses. So what would you see working, I don't know, with people? What is the like, I don't know, the biggest issue when it comes to confidence, yes, or believing in themselves?
I think the biggest issue is that often this is really complex. And as we've said, so actually without going to that, like, oh, I want to be more confident, start with the area that you want to be more confident in. Get the general down to the specific. In NLP, they call it chunking down. To chunk down your big confidence thing into something specific, because then it's easier to work on. And if we think about how our brain works, we create neural pathways, and those neural pathways in our brains dictate how we behave. So start with a thought, okay? So if, let's say, you want to be more confident at being visible, go underneath and look at what is right at the root of that. If it's not feeling good enough, okay? So if I want to feel more good and better about myself so I can be more visible, what is that first thing that I need to think? Then what is that first thing that I need to feel? And then, okay, what will I do? And just really tiny, there's a book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg that talks about this and is available. Really tiny little things. And then you build and you build and you build. And that is how you create new neural pathways. It is really about building and building and building. And then when you're able to create these new ways of thinking and being, you can be more confident. But I think that the thing that stops people is, first of all, that lack of confidence may well have been a comfort blanket, because they may have worn that lack of confidence for so long that it keeps them safe. And equally, ditching those, you know, we stay in situations because we gain something from them, or because the potential to go into that new situation is pretty terrifying. So always, 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 like, be kind to yourself and do the first things.
I love it, what you said. And you're like, it is interesting, yes, because people sometimes they say, oh, I want to be more confident, I want to, I don't know, have my own business, I want to get promotion, or, you know, whatever. But then when the opportunity comes, it's like, actually, no, thank you. Yes, subconsciously, it's like, no, I'm not doing it. And they will come up with, like, you know, different excuses, because it's this comfort blanket, as you said, or it may be too terrifying to take that very, very first step.
Yeah.
So what would you say, I don't know, maybe 1, 2, 3, I don't know, you tell me things, like, you know, in your life that moved the needle for you from having this first client into running, like, you know, 7-figure business right now?
Getting support. Always getting support from coaches and mentors, but also like being in programs. Like, we know because we met in a different program, that actually the people that you meet along the way in different programs, it may be that you work with them at some point, but also it may be that they just become your trusted advisors. They become people that you can go to, and having people around you makes such a difference, because in the online space, like, you know, it's not going to be your friends, it's going to be new people. So getting support, first of all. Second of all, I would say working on your mindset every day and really starting to think about what works and what doesn't. There's some great books, great resources, but I would say, if you want to keep it really simple, journaling your thoughts so you can make sense of them, and then looking at what is holding you back the most and starting there, starting small, starting with creating the thought, then the emotion, and then the action. And the third thing is realizing that this is not personal. So if you're not growing your business the way that you want it to, it's likely that it's not to do with you. It's likely that you probably either have a strategy that you're not aligned with. You might not have the right messaging. You might not have the right audience. So taking a step back and saying, okay, what can I learn about this situation to move me forward, rather than I can't do it. Because I'll be honest, like I've been in this world for 5 years, and I've seen some exceptional coaches who've had a couple of clients and then they've stopped. And the reason they've stopped is because they didn't feel confident. And I know they had the potential to have great businesses. But if they had been able to learn and being more open, and I'm sure that some of them will come back, I know they'd still be in business right now.
This is very powerful what you said, like that. Yeah, I was just digesting, yes, like what you said, because it's very. I love it when you said that, it's not personal, yes, and like this is like very like challenging and difficult. And I'm talking like from my perspective that if you are out there, you're putting yourself out there, creating your business, you would like to have clients, you would like to be recognized. I mean, people are buying your products, they work with you. They engage with you on social media or all of these things, because you've already overcame this fear of going out there, and then you go out there and people don't respond, don't buy, whatever, and how not to take it personally. So I mean, what is your
Oh my gosh, so it's still hard. Like this is like a work in progress, and I wouldn't say I'm 100% there, but what you need to understand is they're not buying you. They're buying the solution that they perceive that you offer. Now, it may be that usually there's 3 reasons why people don't buy. Confidence in the person or the company. So that doesn't mean that they don't think you're good enough. It may mean that they don't know who you are and they don't know what you do. So if you just see, somebody once and they don't have any credibility markers that you're looking for, then you may be like, okay, I'm not going to buy from them.
Mm-hmm.
Confidence in the program or the product or the service that is being offered. Again, what people can say is, well, is that going to work for me? And then confidence in themselves. So if you think about that, confidence in the person isn't necessarily about you. It's about the business. Like maybe they don't know what you do. Maybe they don't know who you are. So that isn't about you. Confidence in the program, maybe it's not the right program for them, or maybe you haven't explained it enough, or maybe you don't have social proof yet. And then confidence in themselves is not about you at all.
This is very powerful what you said, yeah. So like at the same time, on that note, I mean, how to turn? Okay, you understand that it's not about you. You try to identify, the message, the program, the service, the explanation, social proof, etc. And then, I mean, how to help your clients believe in themselves so they can buy from you.
I think it's about really understanding your client and what's going on for them and what is going on in their head and their heart, as well as outwardly. So, really helping them to see that this is a solution that can help them so that they can start. And sometimes that's why you attract your audience and then you nurture them. And some people need more nurturing, depending on where they are, depending on what's happened, depending on if they've had a bad experience elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And actually, I see nurture as a thing that isn't always done really well by entrepreneurs. What they do is they do online entrepreneurs. They attract, they talk about themselves, they grow their audience. But they don't actually nurture and support that audience to help them make the right decision. And that really is, sharing what it's like, sharing the experience, sharing the results.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Thank you so much. So tell us, Ruth, like, because you said that, let's kind of focus on having like the confidence to owning the whole part of your story. Yes, you wanted like, this episode to be kind of the title of this episode to be like that. So what does it mean to you owning like the whole part of your story, and what does it have to do with confidence?
Okay, so this is accepting everything that, like, all of your past, and having peace with that. Doesn't mean that you need to share that. There's elements of my past that I would never share. There's elements about my family I don't share because I have boundaries in it. But it's about that actual radical self-acceptance of all parts of you and of the mistakes that you may have made, of the decisions that you've made, because all of those parts lead you to where you are right now. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that we are multifaceted and we have light and dark, and that we'll have had experiences that maybe aren't positive, but actually they make us who we are. And that doesn't mean that we need to be okay with, whatever happened, especially if we've had trauma, and especially if that has been directed at us. However, it's about actually being able to acknowledge that these have formed who you are and being comfortable with who you are. And I think that when you're able to do that, then it makes it so much easier to grow your business. It makes it so much easier to attract clients, because they're attracted to that energy of that person is comfortable with who they are. And some people won't like that, of course, but some people will never like you and what you do.
This is about not trying to please everybody, yes?
Yeah, because we can't. If we're out there trying to please everyone, honestly, I'm a reformed people pleaser. And I'd be like, if anyone was upset, if anyone didn't like, if anyone was in my membership and left at the beginning, I used to be really upset. Now, if someone's in my membership and we always follow up and they cancel, we always follow up and ask them, what could we do to improve? And like all of these questions. If they don't reply, I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like they're probably really overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Because and when we start to acknowledge that it's not about us, it's about them, it makes things different. And when we start to acknowledge that we cannot control how anybody else thinks about us or feels about us, it makes everything different.
It's very powerful what you said, like, not taking things personally, yet so many people, like, when I work with people, like, improving their confidence as well, it is so difficult. And like, let's be honest, like, sometimes I know everything, but I take things personally, yes, in business. And I don't know if somebody does different things as you just mentioned. So what would be your, I don't know, tip or something that, I don't know, that changed it for you to stop taking it personally?
Right. This is a great exercise that I do. When something happens, take a step back and go to a year from now. And imagine you're looking back at now. What will you be thinking about this situation? Will you even be able to remember it? Because if you do that, then it does put things into context and you're like, okay. And another thing that I think, another really great repositioning exercise I like is imagine that you're recounting what has happened to your partner, best friend, mom, whoever it is who you're close to, but that when you are overthinking something and being a bit, and going there, that they will look at you with that look like is this really even a thing? Imagine that you're telling them that, and imagine, and we all know that we'll be like, oh my gosh, this thing happened and this person did this and this and this. And then we're looking at the person we're telling and they're like, yeah, that doesn't really sound like they did much. That isn't really a big deal. So, imagine saying, like, oh yeah, I spoke to this person. I had a call with them. They wanted to work with me. And then they decided they didn't want to work with me because they couldn't invest. Like everyone would be like, well, okay, that sounds like they made a good choice. Maybe it wasn't the right time. But we make it so much bigger in our head because we leave that thought in our head and we allow it to be amplified. So if we can reframe that thought, it can help us. But I love that going to a year from now, because you're always like, okay. It makes me laugh a lot because I think you really need to chill out.
This is so great. I thank you very much for sharing this. It is really, really helpful. So, oh my God, great. Okay, Rose, so tell us, for the business owners out there who are business owners or who would like to start the business and they are hesitating or they don't know whether they are ready or not, what would you say? I mean, what would you say to these people when they are considering starting their own business, being on this entrepreneurial journey, how to make it happen, how not to give up at the beginning?
Remember that at the beginning, it's an amazing time for learning. So what I would say is experience everything and remember that every single thing that happens is going to move you closer to where you want to be. So just always look at that learning. That's what I would say.
Okay, perfect. Oh my God, Ruth, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. If you can just nail it down, just want to have last question for you. If you could just nail it down to one, the biggest, confidence on believe in yourself, tip in the world, for you, what would you say? Can you nail it down to one?
I would say, write down all of the things that you have ever achieved in your life that you have been responsible for, and remember them. And they can be tiny things. They can be, it can be from when you were really young, but have a list of everything. And then when you grow your business, add to that. Add that you did your first Facebook Live, add that you did your first webinar, add that you spoke to, your first client on a discovery call, and then build from there. You don't need to have achieved everything. It's celebrating those small, tiny wins, and then incrementally, you're going to see a massive change.
I love it. I love it. When I work with my clients, I always tell them about making this list of the things.
Oh, do you?
And they are, and I tell them, okay, you make a list of 20 or 30, and they look at me like, how many?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, hold on a minute. You are 45 years old and you cannot think about 20. So, you are too hard on yourself, way, way too hard on yourself. Yeah. And it's very powerful. It is really powerful. Okay, Ruth, so tell us where people can find you. I mean, how can we connect with you?
So my name's Ruth Kudzi. There's only one of me, Kudzi. My website is ruthkudzi.com. My other website is kudzicoachacademy.com. And I'm on Instagram, Ruth Kudzi. Facebook, I've got a group called The Coaching Community. And anywhere else, you can just search Ruth Kudzi and I'll come up. So, yeah.
Yes, of course, all the links to Ruth's website and to our social media, they will be in the show notes of this episode. So you will be able to connect with Ruth. I cannot recommend Ruth high enough. She's really brilliant and she really always goes that extra mile to help her clients. And she does, way more than she promises at the beginning, a lot of things, but she even gives more. And she's brilliant, and she's a lovely human being as well. And she really cares about your results. So she would like to connect with Ruth. I highly recommend her. And if you would like to be accredited coach, she has the best program on the market at the moment.
Thank you. You're brilliant.
And yeah, so Ruth, once again, thank you so much for coming in today. I do really appreciate your time, and it was a pleasure to have you on. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you. And guys, thank you so much for watching, listening. It was a pleasure. If you believe that it was a valuable episode, and I do believe so please share it with other people. They may need to hear this message again. And I will see you, online and during the next episode. So thank you so much and bye-bye. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you.
To get started on your confidence journey, I invite you to grab free 5-day email course, Confidence Rockstar. You will get 5 daily lessons sent directly to your mailbox, so you will have access to them anytime you like. You can grab this gift on the website alexgrzybek.com/5 days. All of the links to this episode you will find in the show notes below. And one more thing. I want to invite you to my personal website alexgrzybek.com, where you'll find other podcast episodes and more of the free resources to help you on your confidence journey. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next episode.